To follow on that idea of going inside, if the external world is a reflection of what's going on the inside, then what are your thoughts on that? We as a collective have a lot of fear because it seems like the leadership, the political leadership, and what we see around the world is producing a lot of fear around the world. And if we're not going to play victims, one approach, the old approach, is to blame, oh, it's this leader's fault, this country's fault, this leader's fault. But they're just a manifestation, reflection of what's going on inside of us. So if we can change the program of fear and that we are worthy and that there are enough and there's enough to go around and we're not separate, theoretically then, based on what you're sharing, if we can change those programs and then the frequency changes here, will that impact our world? Is that what you're suggesting?
100%. And this is so critical because each of us is a manifestation creating mechanism. I'm making the world I'm living in. And if I look at the world and I go, oh, it's really those people and those people, then guess what? I'm still involved. I'm accepting what they're saying. So I'm not, an innocent bystander. If I'm supporting the fact that I agree that, yeah, this thing is really bad, it's not working right, I agree with it, then I am agreeing with the situation that exists right now. And you say, yeah, but it's those people. I go, yeah, but you're accepting what those people are saying. And it's when we as individuals decide, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change my world. I'm going to change my life. I want to empower myself. That is the only opportunity for freedom on this planet. That we keep waiting for other people to give us freedom. It's like, no, only you can give yourself freedom. And only you can decide, is this the way you want to do it? Is this satisfying? And if the answer is no, then it's like, well, you're the one that's doing it. How about doing something different? Oh, that's the Einstein quote. Wow, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same thing. If you stop doing that and do something different, there's opportunity for something new to express itself. And so, your efforts, Lorne, are so critical. Is it won't work if we don't empower ourselves as individuals. Collectively, the civilization has been controlled because there were people who knew how to program us and how to disempower us. Listen, the idea that the programming in the first 7 years occurs and that programming shapes the rest of our lives, 400 years old in the history. The Jesuits for 400 years told their followers, they said, give me a child till it is 7 and I will show you the man. They told people that whatever program I put in by age 7, that's the character of your life. Well, that's been known for 400 years. Do you think the leadership of the world has ignored that fact? Are you kidding me? The programming is much more effective now than it ever was before. All you have to do is watch an infant walking around with an iPad. You go, holy jeez, the kid's being programmed on a computer already. And it's like, yep. And that's the beginning. And the reality is we must recognize the difference between who we are and the program that we are creating. If we don't like our life, our consistent belief was go out there and fix it or somebody else is causing the problem. But the new science, and especially what you're engaged in, Lorne, is the opportunity to say, no, I am creating my life. And if I'm creating it, do I have a choice? I go, absolutely. And I know that personally. Why? Because I got a completely different life after learning the lessons of the cells about the environment and the belief and the programming and all that. My life was a struggle most of the time. I mean, I did really well in my profession as a scientist, but boy, I really sucked on personal life experiences. I mean, I couldn't get a relationship to work. I guess, wonder if that's just the same program that my father and mother were. Oh yeah, I did that program. It didn't work for me either. But once understanding it was programming, it was like, do I want this? No. What do I want? Oh, I have a vision. Now what? Take that vision, make it a program, as we talked about, by downloading the subconscious, and now you've just changed your life. And the significance is this: you don't have to be engaged in the system. You can step outside the system. I'm outside the system. What does that mean? Well, I engage with people, I do my job and all that, but I don't follow the news. I don't follow the political people. They don't speak for me. I said, it's like, let me create my own personal life, because if I download their life into my life sucks. So it's like, hey, get off that news and get off that TV stuff and start taking care of yourself. Start taking care of your yard, your kids, your neighborhood. Why? That's where you live. And if you're not living in harmony, then everything you see on TV, you just brought into your own yard. And the idea is you can live without participating with them. You don't have to contribute your consciousness to their consciousness. And people, think, oh, well, my thoughts are only in my head, so I'm not affecting anybody out here. How do we know you're through in your head? Oh, there was a thing called electroencephalograph, and I put wires on and I read my brain activity. It's inside. And now I tell you, guess what? There's a new device called magnetoencephalograph, and the probe is out here, and it reads what's going on in your mind. And I say, what's the meaning of that? And I go, your thoughts are not contained in your head. Your thoughts are sending out a field. And I go, what's the relevance of my thoughts on a field? And I go, Einstein quote, the field is the sole governing of the particle, sole governing agency of the particle. I say, so my thoughts are generating a field, which then are the governing agency of my matter? And I go, yes. And all of a sudden it's like, holy God, then the world around me is not an accident. I'm broadcasting the field to shape that world. And when you change your thoughts, you change the shape of the world in which you live. And we bought into the victim. We bought into the leadership that they know what the hell's going on. No, they know how to control you. And let me tell you a simple fact. When you're under stress, this is a real important fact that they know as well, I'm going to tell it to you, is when you're under stress, stress hormones squeeze the blood vessels in the forebrain, squeeze them shut, because that pushes the blood to the hindbrain. I say, what's the difference? Forebrain is creative consciousness, hindbrain is reaction reflex. The point is this, if we stress people, they become less intelligent, they become more reactive. And all of a sudden I say, well, then you lost your power, because remember, your power was the creativity of the conscious brain. But in stress, it's shut off. And all of a sudden your creativity is gone. And now you're out there just like every other person, reacting and responding to other people without even invoking your creative ability. And they know that. So the more stress they put us under, the less intelligent we become. And then you look at the US and go, boy, are those people stupid. And I go, yeah, check the stress they're under here with the, leadership that we are now endowed with. Problem.
So for the listeners, 3 books I'm going to mention that are tied to this. One is Bruce's books, The Honeymoon Effect and Spontaneous Evolution. You'll go in deeper in that. And then I don't know if you read, it's Napoleon Hill wrote the Outwitting the Devil in 1938, but it was only published in 2011. And it kind of goes into this also about drifting. And if you're conscious and you change the programs, you can have heaven on earth. And if you're drifting, yes, you let fear run your life, then you're subject to hell on this planet. And it all starts with your mind. I like what you're sharing. It reminds me, one of the consciousness teachers I have here in Vancouver is Gila Golub, who talks passionately about you as well. And she always shared, it was basically what gave me freedom when she said, you can't change anybody else's behaviors. You can't heal the planet. Only you can heal your own mind. And by healing your own mind, because you see the world, you perceive the world through the lenses of your subconscious, when you heal your own mind, then other people, what you put out in the field, your environment changes, and how you interact with other people will change, and the planet will heal. So for our listeners who feel overwhelmed, I need to heal the world, I got to change. You don't have to change anybody. And I want to confirm, Bruce, what you're sharing is you just have to heal your own mind. We're on the airplane and you put your oxygen mask on. That's all you need to do. And then once you're clean and good, then you can start putting oxygen mask on other people. But right now, if you're stressed and feeling overwhelmed, guided imagery, hypnosis, acupuncture, EFT, Psyche, repetition, turn off the news, read books that are going to be inspiring you. So we got 3 from Dr. Bruce Lipton. Listen to the podcasts he offers. this is what I've been doing for the last couple of years to make my shift is I constantly am listening to audiobooks when I drive and walk versus other things, especially the news, because I realize that repetition, I need to override the programs I was giving culturally, in utero, and through life. And I found it's made a dramatic difference. Like you've had your experience. For me, it's been a great experience. What I want to share is it does take work. It's not like you read the book, as you mentioned, your conscious will get it, but it hasn't gone into the program. So it still takes these daily practices and the discipline to do this on a regular basis, or you'll fall back into these old programs. Has that been your experience as well?
This is absolutely what it's all about. And let me emphasize something that you brought up, because it's really, it causes an emotional problem with us. And that is, we have dear loved ones and we see that their lives aren't really going well. And of course, we want to help them, as you said, and we want to help them. And the idea is you cannot help them. They can help themselves. But when you think you're going to change somebody else's belief system, it's going to really lead up to a lot of problems, because you're going to put a lot of effort in and then ultimately find that nothing really happened. All that work you did to help somebody and they're still in the same place. And the point is simply this: they will not change until they are ready to change. If you are ready to change, take care of yourself. And the significance is simple, because as you start to live in health and harmony and joy around you, guess what? It's a magnet. It will draw other people to you to find out, hey, how did you get so happy? How come you're so healthy? What are you doing? And then they open the door for you to say, oh, let me help you. But if they didn't come up and say, hey, help me, and you really want to help them because family, friends, whatever, it's like, that's going to be very frustrating, because if they're not ready, only they can change themselves. And if we take it on ourselves that we're going to change them, it's like you're already in a loss. You're not going to make it. It won't happen.
You're already in the loss column. You're right.
Is to take care of ourselves. And as I personally know, I mean, look, when I understood the mechanism of how life was working, because the cells revealed it to me, and I saw, oh my God, we're creating this, and that if we do this differently, we can create heaven on earth. And I couldn't wait to get a group of people together and say, let me tell you about this science. If you understand this science, you can create the most fabulous life. And then I give my lecture and they look at me and they go, you know, Lipton, your life doesn't look that good for a guy who says you know this stuff. And that's when I realized I knew it in my conscious mind, but it never got translated to be subconscious mind. So we're all pretty damn smart in the conscious mind, but it doesn't download into the subconscious mind. It's a nice piece of information, but it will have no valid nature of influencing your life if it doesn't come into the subconscious programming. So the idea is, yes, enhance your conscious mind, but then take the steps to take that talking into walking. Can I live up? That's what I had to stop lecturing, because I realized, God, if this is really true, what I'm talking about, why the heck is my life not so wonderful? And that was because then the realization, my conscious mind learns separately and in a different way than the subconscious. So I can educate my conscious mind, oh man, be a genius. But if it doesn't translate into subconscious programs, it's meaningless on your life, except for the frustration that will cause because you know better, but you're not living better.
So you got to be the example. So, and this is, I think it's worth repeating. Don't go and try and change other people. Just be the example. And then they will ask you, what have you done? I mean, that was my experience. A friend of mine, I was like, what have you done? And then that's how I got introduced to the Gila Golub work. Is he said, this is what changed me, because I could see you're different. And he said, you got to try this. And that was my experience as well.